Cody Bellinger might be the most important player to the Cubs in 2023. Found out why next.
Are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy, and this is Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Please support the show and be a part of our Locked On Cubs community by following and subscribing on all audio platforms. And you can watch, subscribe, and leave a comment on YouTube. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thanks wherever you may be listening. Opening day is exactly 4 weeks away as we record here for a Thursday episode.
Yeah.
A lot to get into today, Sam, including a preview for a Cubs position player new to the Cubs this year, first year on the north side, Cody Bellinger. And he's looking to rebound, bounce back, change the scenery, whatever buzz term you want to use. I think he might be the most important player to the North Siders in 2023. He definitely intrigues me based on his resume. What is your first impressions of him in a Cubs uniform?
Yeah, I don't know if I would go that far. First of all, I'd like to wish you a happy March. One of the best months of the year. Baseball is in the air. March Madness is officially here. There's a lot of good things going on, and I would just like to say this to all of our Chicagoans, and I know we got a little bit of snow in the forecast later in the week. Everybody always makes fun of me and says, man, how can you still live in Chicago? What? Oh, the weather this, the weather that. That was the easy. This so far, knock on wood, has been the easiest winter I've ever been a part of. And nobody, it's like offensive line play. Nobody ever talks about the weather when it's good. So I'm going to say it. It's been awesome, okay? As far as Bellinger goes, yeah, I think you're overreacting. I think you're overdoing it with most important, because with Bellinger, I think it's one of those things we've talked about. He's a huge floor raiser. If he just plays good defensive center field, then it's super helpful. Most important puts a tag on him that I'm expecting something out of him. Beyond that, if he ends up having a breakout offensive year, I'm all for it, but I'm not expecting it. I would put him behind an Ian Happ, who I'm expecting to produce day in and day out. I'm expecting Dansby Swanson to produce day in and day out. I was expecting Seiya Suzuki, but that won't be happening till May 1. I'm expecting more from Nico Horner. I think Bellinger, anything above 240, 250-ish for him, and if he could hit over 25, 30 home runs, like that would be a bonus for me, if that makes sense. Which, of course, if you're going to have a great season, people have to break out. But to me, the most important title falls into like what I'm expecting to see, and I have him. I would probably have him, but still have him maybe third on the list of position players. Unfortunately, without Suzuki, it's not that deep of a list.
Well, third is that's in the team photo. I mean, that's high up there.
Yeah, probably behind like Swanson. It's Swanson, Horner, Happish, and he's in there.
Well, you wouldn't venture to say he's like the key to the season or something like that.
I wouldn't say he's the key to the season, but to your point, in terms of importance, we don't really have another defensive center fielder on the roster. So in terms of like irreplaceability, he is up there. To your point, it's just I'm just not expecting a ton offensively. I wouldn't say he's the key to the season as long as he's catching the ball.
Well, you bring up Suzuki. I think that's appropriate because with him, possibly till May 1st, I was wondering today whose importance increases, and I would say it's the other two outfielders.
Sure.
Happ and Bellinger, and then Trey Mancini.
Yeah,
I decided on those three.
I agree with
that. Hosmer and Wisdom I considered, but Hosmer it's just a shrug for me. And Wisdom, we know who he is as a player. So I think it's Happ, Bellinger, and Mancini. And, Bellinger struggled now 3 straight years, basically. And I think the time for him is now. It's so weird because 17, 18, and 19, he was fantastic. I don't think the expectation is for him to get those at those levels. That's not realistic. He just needs to be solid.
I think,
but rookie of the year in 17, MVP in 19. He got to Sloan hours after the Cubs convention. He's been there ever since. Dustin Kelly and Johnny Washington, Sam, the hitting coaches for the Cubs. I know Bellinger speaks really highly of them. And I think his health is going to be a big impact because being healthy is paramount for anything, but for hitting mechanics. And I think we're going to see that play a role in how he does, given that he's 100%.
mm-hmm.
And he's an athletic player, athletic person. And I think that translates to an athletic swing. We know what he could do in center field. He moves well to go get the ball, a plus arm. So, we know that, he has all those tools, and I'm excited at what he can do in a new uniform.
Yeah. And let me say this, Matt. I think Bellinger, I don't think it's one of those things with Bellinger where it's it kind of makes sense why he fell off. Maybe not as much as drastic. He's an uppercut swing guy, a launch angle guy, and right after the 2019 season is where we saw that huge influx in the high fastball. We've talked about it on this show before. We've talked about it off air. The Cubs struggle with it. That high fastball that when you're watching from your TV, you're like, why can't that guy hit it? It's letter high, chest high, right down the middle, and he keeps swinging under it because that's the counter pitch for the Bellingers of the world, the guys with the big uppercut swing. And I think he's really struggled with that, and I think he's trying to make his adjustment back.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And would you say right now that you see him as a cleanup hitter based on Suzuki's absence?
No, I'm all confused with I'm already wrong on the order. So for me, my order does not have Nico Hoerner leading off. I've said that 100 times. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. So I would have Hoerner in the middle of the order.
Right.
I would have Happ at the top. And then I would have, I think that this would move Bellinger to the 5-6-ish range. I think you want to keep him as much low profile as you can early on in the year. So I'd probably have Mancini hit ahead of him. But yeah, no, probably not clean up, but yes, with the Suzuki absence, you can't hit him 8th.
And there was a Bellinger highlight today, wasn't there?
He doubled to left center field off Robbie Ray, who's one of the toughest lefties in the business. And it was a really impressive swing of the bat. And I texted you about that if he can handle lefties. Last year he had 2 home runs versus lefties all season.
Wow.
If he could handle lefties and he could play literally every day, that would give a really nice boost to this team because we don't have a backup center fielder that could defend.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And center field has been a question mark for this team for years. The Cubs have a up-and-coming center fielder that's now officially the number 1 prospect in the system. MLB Pipeline put out their brand new list on Wednesday, and we reveal that list and dig in a little bit coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the official betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. FanDuel is the number 1 sports book in America. New customers can join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. All in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of Locked On Cubs. Welcome back into Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We're in your ears, as always, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and more. Shout out to all the audio peeps on there as we continue to climb on those platforms as well. MLB Pipeline released a brand new top 30 prospects list for the Cubs on Wednesday. I'd like to go through the top 15 if we can.
Sure.
Because I think there's obviously there's a lot of huge names on there in our Cubs universe, and I think that would be worth to hit on all of these. So
Sure.
Pete Crow-Armstrong is number 1.
So maybe Marquee can edit their commercial.
Oh, yeah. What did they say? Brendan Davis?
Yes.
Yeah, he was, I think, entering the 21 season.
Yeah, it's 2023 now.
Kevin Alcantara, number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan Davis, 3.
Mm-hmm.
Cade Horton, 4th.
Love it.
Hayden Wisniewski, 5th. Jordan Wick, 6th. Matt Mervis climbs very high, up to number 7. Ben Brown, 8th. Jackson Ferris, who, like Horton, was a draft pick this past summer. He's 9th. Christian Hernandez, 10th. Alexander Canario, 11th. He falls a few spots with the injuries. James Triantos, 12th. Owen Casey, 13th. Daniel Palencia, one of Lindsey Crosby's favorites, 14th. And Miguel Amaya, who's been a prospect mainstay for a few years now, rounds out the top 15. I just wanted to give some facts and stats here from those 15. 5 of the 15 are draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
1 is an undrafted signee in Mervis, but that's a technicality because it was 2020. There was only 5 rounds that year. 2 international signees and 7 of the 15 via trade, and all 7 were in trades since December of 2020.
Yeah.
So a lot of wheeling and dealing for Jed Hoyer to create a strong farm system, especially at the top. A lot of those trades he made, it's not like, oh, they're 23rd on the list. No, they're 7 of the top 15.
Well,
including the top 2.
Well, PCA's Baez, Alcantara's Rizzo, Canario's Bryant.
Right.
Just right off the top of my head.
Wisniewski, Frost.
Yeah, right.
Casey Darvish, Palencia Chafin. Ben Brown, Robertson.
Right. But the core guys is I mean that Baez for PCA deal's got a chance to really be special. Yeah, I mean, no real surprises there. Christian Hernandez took a deep dive. I mean, he was top 5, top 4 for a while. Just a lot of raw talent there. I mean, he's a long way away, but you
might see him at A-ball this year.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, PCA, hasn't gotten any actual hits yet in spring in a limited amount of plate appearances, but he looks the part. Alcantara looks the part. I mean, these guys, if at this time next year, hopefully we're debating, should we just start the year with type of thing, but they got time and it's good. It's a nice timeline. That's kind of why I wish the Cubs were a little bit more aggressive with their spending, because, a lot of people say, well, Sam, shouldn't the Cubs just hold off on spending, wait for these guys to come up? It's like, look what the Mets are doing. Mets have a top 5 system in baseball and all they do is spend. It's like those guys, PCA and Alcantara will not be featured this season. So, and those are your top 2 prospects. Why not, supplement the roster as much as you can, or give Mervis a chance? It's not like I'd understand if Mervis was 19, 20 years old. He's a 24-year-old prospect because of the COVID year. But yeah, I mean, that's just beating a dead horse, but it's good. It's a nice list. It's a deep system. And you got to understand, there's guys you didn't mention. You didn't even mention Caleb Killian. Caleb Killian is talented, right? There's plenty of guys that you didn't mention on that list that could really impact. You didn't mention Chris Morrell. I guess technically he's not a prospect anymore because he probably played too many big league games. But it's a very deep system, and hopefully PCA and Alcantara and possibly Davis can carry it home.
Yeah, and I think Killian is in the spring training rotation, if you want to call it that. It turns back to the start on Thursday. Stroman's getting the ball against the A's. I believe that game's at Sloan Park.
So we won't know how fast the pitchers are throwing.
I don't know if that's going to change or not anytime soon.
Man, is that a rough thing in spring training to not know the velocity of your young pitchers?
Yeah, I think that was pretty much common practice now.
They do, I'm sure. I'm sure they have their own, miles.
Well, yeah, there's a prospect behind the home plate with a radar gun.
Yeah, scout, right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I personally do not understand how there's people in the top 10 who haven't thrown a pitch in professional baseball.
Just projections.
Yeah, and so I think that makes me conflicted with these lists from time to time. Although I will say with Cade Horton,
it's going to be special.
In his case, if they're projecting him that high,
he's going to be special.
Yeah, that bodes well.
Cade Horton's going to be special.
Because there was some friction around draft time. And he didn't pitch that many college innings, whatever you want to say, but he clearly has the tools to be a plus pitcher.
There's something really special going on with the Cubs right now, and we'll talk about it because it has to do with who started today as well. That's starting to get me really giddy about it because if you remember, go back to July, I went on a huge rant after we got swept by the Dodgers about pitching development and how it has to change. And it's almost like Jed Hoyer watched that episode because things are starting to turn with our pitching.
All right. Well, we get into updates and maybe some overreaction theater from spring training action on Wednesday coming up next. Welcome back into Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. The Cubs were in action once again on Wednesday. And Hayden Wisniewski, Sam, started for the Northsiders, 2 scoreless innings, 1 hit, 4 strikeouts. Michael Rucker had a scoreless inning out of the pen. Yan Gomes doubled. David Bodie with another hit. He's now 5 for 8 this spring. Perhaps a Bodie trade prior to opening day. Maybe future LA Dodger David Bodie. Not sure. Former Dodger Edwin Rios, by the way, he was 0 for today. He's now 0 for 7 with 5 strikeouts. Anything that caught your eye in today's ball game?
Yeah, of course. Hayden Wisniewski looked outstanding, and I'm not surprised by it because one of my favorite things about him is his makeup and the fact that he's a gamer and he's a young man, I'm sure, that saw Adrian Sampson get lit up on the first day and saw a little bit of a window, and he came out. He struck out 4 Mariners, including Rookie of the Year Julio Rodriguez, fairly easily, 2 shutout innings, and he looked the part. Again, I couldn't tell how hard he was throwing, but he looked the part. And look, we'll sit here and debate, is he going to start the first,
that's part of the fun.
Yeah. I have no idea. My guess would be no, unless Sampson really, really struggles. But he is going to start meaningful games this year for the Cubs. I would go as far as to say, and I'll say it right now, I guarantee it. They are starting to show more than just signs. They're starting to show real proof that they know what they're doing with their the pitching development. I don't know if it's Carter Hawkins. I don't know if it's Craig Breslow. I don't know who's at the forefront of it, but I'm I've been listening to Lindsay. I've been listening to these guys, and it all across the league. I always will say on this show when I have inside information, just like with the Dansby Swanson thing, I knew about 4 or 5 days prior. I tweeted that so people knew. I don't have any inside information here, but the closest thing I have to it is I'm hearing things around the league about the Cubs that people are starting to really take a look at the fact that they've fixed their pitching problem, because this was a Theo Long problem. The Cubs could not develop pitching internally if their name wasn't Kyle Hendricks or their name wasn't Jake Arrieta, who came over from Baltimore, really since Chris Bosio left.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a small thing, call it overreaction theater, but you're just starting to see it. Like Wisniewski came in today. I watched it. I watched the highlights of it. Like, he just looked like a guy who was prepared and ready to go and had a plan, and they have a plan with him. And it's exciting stuff. It's early. I'm sure he's going to hit some bumps in the road, but the negative right now is the injuries. The positives right now is I'm really interested to see where these young pitchers go and to see their development. And now what I thought was going to kind of be a robotic type of spring. It's probably I could probably use a better word than that, but meaning like, hey, we're just going to go through the motions. We know exactly who's going to be on the roster. Now Sampson gives up 3 home runs. His first appearance. Wisniewski looks dominant. Suzuki's hurt. Mervis looks really comfortable at the plate. There's some really interesting stories here developing in spring that is somebody that loves the team and has, the show. I'm watching every single day. So that's cool.
If the Cubs are serious about winning in 2023, then Wisniewski would open the season on the club.
I think it's a little early.
Especially if he pitches like this.
I think it's a little early for that. If he pitches like this all spring and Sampson struggles, then yes. But he very well could give up 4 runs next start, and then it's like, okay, he needs more seasoning. But I'll edit your phrase and say if he looks like this, it's for sure interesting.
As far as I can tell, Wisniewski and Mervis don't need more seasoning.
Right.
As far as I can tell,
it's like a Chicago cut medium fillet. Like you don't put sauce on that.
No,
you don't put any peppers on it. You eat it as
fork
it comes.
and a knife.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
No. Listen,
don't change what's working well.
Can you imagine? Yeah, no. It's interesting.
I don't need another Mountain Dew flavor, even if I am cutting back.
Well, no, cut back on that.
Original's the best.
No. No. Code Red.
There's a Peeps Pepsi right now.
For me, Mountain Dew back in the day, Code Red, Original, and Livewire, whatever it was.
Oh, wow.
Whatever the orange flavor was.
Good memories there.
Yeah.
Great memories. All right, well, we'll keep an eye on spring training action.
Remember, did you see anything that excited you today? What did you think about the Cubs 5-3 W?
Well, I'm intrigued by Michael Rucker as a bullpen piece.
Hey, listen, I hit my hand on the table last year trying to tell you he's not that bad of a reliever.
And I do believe, again, I wasn't able to catch today's ball game. But I do believe, according
to
Jeff,
we have a show. We have our own show, but forget it. I'll watch the games.
According to Jeff Agrest of the Chicago Sun-Times, it was an all analyst booth. So that's a little bit of a curveball to the bingo card.
That stuff really.
Jim Deshaies and Ron Coomer in the booth. No traditional play-by-player in there.
Well, Boog was, he's probably out on college basketball assignment or something.
Oh, yeah.
No, I know that stuff really irks you, but no, it's a good day today. It's good.
It doesn't irk me. I just want to pay attention to it.
No, it irks you. It was a good day. It was a good day today. I'm excited about Wisniewski. I wish we had, I'll close the show with this sentence.
I wish I wasn't under the weather.
Yeah, I wish you weren't either. But I also wish I was 6'5", so I wouldn't be doing this show. But I'd be playing right now against the Pistons. I'll close the show by saying, I just wish we had another bat.
Well, man, we've been talking about it for 3 months.
I know. I just look at the box score. I just want to close the show by saying, I just wish we had another bat.
Right. I may reveal the opening day lineup on Friday's show.
No.
Mike Talkman batting 8th and playing right.
That's it for me. Close the show.
Be sure to subscribe to Locked On Cubs on YouTube. Smash the like button on all your favorite Locked On Cubs content, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Please leave us a question for the mailbag on Friday.
It's the big leagues.
312-834-4634.
Trying to win 90 games.
Thanks for making us your first listen every day. And I'll make your second listen, Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. Locked On Fantasy Baseball, available on the YouTubes and wherever you get your podcasts. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.